In a small, cozy town where every intersection reminded one of the slow passage of time, lived a girl named Jennifer. Her life was filled with dreams of big stages and applause that, for now, existed only in her imagination. Her parents were always busy, and the house often fell into silence, surrendered to a peaceful calm. After school and chores, when the last ray of light disappeared behind the window frames, Jennifer found solitude in her small room upstairs. It was her refuge from the outside world, filled with the soft light of a desk lamp and the glimmers of dreams she painted in her imagination. The walls of her room were adorned with posters of famous ballerinas and black and white photographs of historic dance performances. In the corner stood an old record player that played melodies capable of making her heart beat to the rhythm of a paso doble or a waltz. Every evening, she danced. Her movements were quiet and graceful, as if she were afraid of disturbing the delicate silence of her sanctuary. Jennifer's dances were her secret language, through which she could express all that words couldn't convey. She dreamed of the day when she could share her passion with the world, not confined to the four walls of her room. Each evening, after finishing her dance, she would sit on the edge of her bed, turn off the music, and look out the window where darkness slowly swallowed the last remnants of the day. In these moments, she felt part of something bigger. Despite the limitations of her current world, Jennifer knew that one day her dreams would break free, like music slipping through closed doors. In the small, worn-out town where every house kept its secrets, lived Jennifer's parents, Martha and Robert. These two adults, leaving their daughter alone in the shadow of their problems, rarely noticed how quickly she was growing up, surrounded by dreams and loneliness. Martha worked as a nurse at the local hospital. Her shifts were endlessly long, and she always came home exhausted, with deep, dark circles under her eyes. Life at the hospital left a mark of constant fatigue on her face, and she was indifferent to household matters. She barely exchanged a few words with Jennifer in the evening before disappearing into her room to rest and gather strength for the next workday. Robert, her father, worked at the local factory, and his labor was no less exhausting. He did heavy physical work that required not only strength but endurance. Coming home, he often sought solace in alcohol, which turned him into a rough and irritable person. Evenings when he drank usually ended with loud arguments with Martha, and these clashes echoed throughout the house, filling it with anxiety and tension. These arguments were about overdue bills, unresolved problems, and unspoken grievances that had accumulated over the years. Martha and Robert rarely found common ground, and their relationship was a constant source of stress for Jennifer. The girl, feeling forgotten and ignored, found refuge in her room where she could hide from the family storms. Their house, though filled with things, felt empty and devoid of warmth. Old photographs on the walls, dusty books on the shelves, and worn-out furniture all created a sense of abandonment and loneliness. Her parents, absorbed in their own concerns, rarely paid attention to Jennifer, who increasingly felt like a ghost in her own home. Despite this, Jennifer found a way to express her feelings and emotions through dance. Every evening, when the arguments subsided, she would turn on the music and start to dance. These dances were her salvation, a way to forget the chaos that reigned in her home. She dreamed of one day leaving this house and starting a new life, where she could follow her passions and paint the world with her movements. At dawn, when the first rays of the sun filtered through her room's curtains, Jennifer sat on the edge of her bed, gathering her thoughts and emotions. Today was unlike any other day. Today she had to say goodbye to the house that had been both her refuge and her prison. She had turned 18, and in her heart a firm decision had taken root to start a new life, one she would choose for herself. Over the years spent within these walls, she had grown from a shy girl into a strong, determined young woman. Her passion for dance had given her not only solace, but also strength, helping her overcome countless family difficulties. But now, standing on the threshold of adulthood, she needed to let go of the past. Jennifer looked around her room. The posters of famous dancers on the walls now seemed like friends who had always inspired her to move forward. The old record player, which had accompanied her every evening, was now silent. She carefully packed a few items she decided to take with her, a few dance books, photographs, and her favorite dance outfits. Descending the stairs with a bag slung over her shoulder, she paused for a moment, glancing back. The walls of the house now seemed old and tired, like her parents, who were still asleep. Deciding not to wake them to avoid long farewells or attempts to hold her back, she left a note on the kitchen table, and it were words of gratitude for everything they had done for her, and a promise that she would strive to make them proud. As she passed by the old oak tree at the gate, Jennifer couldn't shake the feeling that her life was just beginning. She looked around, breathing in the cool morning air, and felt a lightness in her soul. Her steps were firm and confident, as if she could already see her future, full of light and new beginnings. She boarded the bus that was to take her to the nearest big city, where she planned to start her career as a dancer. Looking out the window, Jennifer watched as the house of her childhood grew smaller and smaller, blurred by the morning mist. With every mile that carried her further from the past, her heart filled with hope and anticipation. After leaving her childhood home, Jennifer began a new life in a small but bustling city. The first days were full of uncertainty, but she was determined to find her place and start building the future she had dreamed of. In her search for work, Jennifer discovered a cozy cafe in the city center, which immediately caught her attention with its warm interior and welcoming atmosphere. The cafe owner, a kind middle-aged man named Mark, was impressed by her enthusiasm and eagerness to work. He immediately offered her a job as a waitress. Jennifer quickly learned the ropes and became one of the most beloved staff members among the regulars for her smile and attentive service. Working at the cafe not only provided her with a livelihood, but also allowed her to meet different people, which was a new and exciting experience for her. The cafe had a small stage where local musicians performed on weekends. One day, Mark suggested that Jennifer perform a dance routine. He had noticed her dancing between the tables when she thought no one was watching. This offer suddenly rekindled her joy and the opportunity to share her passion for dance with others. Jennifer's first performance at the cafe was a triumph. Amidst the enthusiastic applause from the audience, who were amazed by her grace and emotion, she realized she had begun a new chapter in her life where her dream of dancing could become a reality. This was a confirmation that her decision to leave home had been the right one. After that, Mark made Jennifer's dance performances a regular event, which drew even more visitors to the cafe. With each performance, Jennifer became more confident. She started experimenting with different styles and compositions, genuinely enjoying the opportunity to express herself. The cafe became a place where she could be herself, a place where she felt support and recognition. Gradually, her reputation as a talented dancer spread beyond the cafe. People came specifically to see her performances, and after the shows, they approached her to express their admiration and gratitude. These moments filled Jennifer's heart with warmth and pride, as she had not only found a new home, but also a path she wanted to follow. One autumn evening, when the leaves covered the sidewalks with a golden carpet and the air was filled with the scent of the approaching winter, Jennifer's life took an unexpected turn. After another successful performance at the cafe, she noticed a new face in the audience. It was a middle-aged man in a mechanic's uniform who watched her dance with such admiration and respect that Jennifer could feel his gaze through the music and applause. Gregory, as he later introduced himself, was a mechanic at a local shop. He had come to the cafe by chance, seeking solace after a long and hard day. His gaze settled on Jennifer, and he couldn't take his eyes off her throughout the performance. When the dance ended, he approached her to express his admiration for her art. "Your dance was simply incredible," he said, his voice soft and a bit shy. "I've never seen anything like it before. It was like seeing music in motion." Jennifer smiled, grateful for his kindness and openness. It was nice to hear, especially from someone who had seen her dance for the first time. They started talking and soon discovered they had much in common, including a love for the arts, even though it manifested in different forms. Over the next few weeks, Gregory became a regular at the cafe. He came not only to see Jennifer, but also to spend time with her after her performances, talking about music, life, and their own dreams. These meetings quickly blossomed into a deep mutual affection, and soon they began dating. Gregory turned out to be an extraordinarily warm and caring person. His support became a tremendous pillar of strength for Jennifer. He admired her determination and passion for dance and always found words of encouragement when she doubted herself or her abilities. Jennifer, in turn, admired his ability to find beauty in everyday things and his unwavering honesty. Shortly after they met, Gregory proposed and Jennifer accepted without hesitation. They understood that their meeting was fate, an event that would forever change both their lives. Together, they felt they could overcome any challenges, maintaining faith in themselves and their dreams. Their wedding was modest but incredibly warm and sincere, reflecting the depth of their feelings for each other. After the wedding, Jennifer and Gregory settled in a small house on the outskirts of town, where every evening the sun bathed their garden in warm light. Jennifer found in this new place the coziness and tranquility she had lacked in her childhood home. Life with Gregory was full of contrasts and discoveries, and each day brought something new and exciting. Gregory respected and supported Jennifer's passion for dance, even though he himself was far from dancing. His attention and care gave her new strength to realize her dreams. He set up a small dance studio for her, right at their home in an extension with large windows that led in natural light. This became her personal space where she could practice and experiment with choreography. Jennifer started giving dance lessons to children and adults in their neighborhood. This not only brought an additional income, but also allowed her to share her passion with others, spreading the love of dance among neighbors and new friends. Gregory was proud of her achievements and often watched the classes sitting with a cup of tea on a small bench near the studio's entrance. Their evenings at home were warm and peaceful. After dinner, they often sat in their small garden enjoying the sunset and talking about the future. Sometimes Gregory played the guitar, and Jennifer would quietly dance on the soft grass to his melodies. These moments became their little celebrations of quiet happiness. However, not all days were filled with joy. The news of infertility, which they learned a few months after the wedding, was a heavy blow for Jennifer. She was distressed and feared this news might change their relationship. But Gregory showed incredible patience and understanding. He reassured her that their family was the two of them together, regardless of everything else. "We will always support each other, no matter what life brings us." He comforted her one evening as they watched the stars sparkling in the sky above their home. The shadow fell over their idyllic family life one autumn day when Jennifer and Gregory visited the doctor for a routine checkup. They dreamed of a future where their family would grow, but the results of the examination brought different news. In the doctor's office, amid the sterile white walls, Jennifer sat holding Gregory's hand as the doctor regretfully announced that Jennifer had medical issues making pregnancy extremely unlikely. The world around Jennifer seemed to freeze, her heart sank, and the room felt eerily quiet despite the city's hum outside the window. They drove home in silence after the doctor's visit. Jennifer felt her chest tighten with pain and disappointment. She had always dreamed of a big family, a home filled with laughter and children's voices. Once home, she secluded herself in her dance studio, where every movement usually helped her cope with difficulties. But this time, even dancing couldn't console her. Gregory, always patient and supportive, found her leaning against the studio mirror. He gently hugged her and they stood there, looking at their reflections in the mirror, two lonely silhouettes and an empty space surrounded by the soft light of the setting sun. "We're together in everything that awaits us," he whispered, his words full of unwavering confidence and love. "Our dreams may change shape, but as long as we're together, we'll find a way to be happy." Feeling his warmth and sincerity, Jennifer gradually found the strength to lift her head. In the following days, they talked a lot about what this discovery meant for both of them. Gregory suggested they consider other paths to parenthood, such as adoption, but Jennifer wasn't ready to discuss those options yet. She needed time to accept her new reality. In the years following the devastating news about her infertility, Jennifer's life began to lose its vibrancy. Once full of energy and inspiration, she gradually felt her passion for dance and life itself fade. The joy she used to feel when performing or teaching in her dance studio started to wane like a candle in the wind. Gregory noticed the changes in Jennifer and tried to support her in every way possible. He proposed new projects and attempted to enrich their lives with travel and new activities. However, all his efforts were met with indifference. Jennifer spent more time at home, refusing performances and gradually reducing the number of dance lessons. Her inner world seemed covered with a layer of dust that she couldn't and didn't want to brush off. She smiled less, and her interactions with Gregory became strained and limited. When she was alone, her thoughts drifted to questions about the meaning of her efforts and desires. Everything that once filled her life with meaning and purpose now seemed indifferent. Seeing her suffering, Gregory felt powerless. He tried talking to her, trying to understand what she was going through, but every conversation ended in silence with tears. Jennifer began to shut herself off, and her inner world became increasingly impenetrable. Slowly but surely, her withdrawal from life became noticeable. She stopped participating in local cultural events, which had once brought her so much joy. Even her beloved books on dance and albums of famous performances gathered dust on the shelves of her studio. The studio, once filled with music and laughter, now stood empty and silent. Gregory repeatedly suggested seeing specialists, therapists who could help Jennifer overcome her apathy and depression. But she stubbornly refused, claiming that no one and nothing could change her state. Her apathy and loss of interest in life deepened, affecting not only her own life, but also their life together. Over the years, the home where Jennifer and Gregory lived changed noticeably. What was once full of warmth and light became gloomy and quiet, except for the constant grumbling that became the background of their daily lives. They had accepted the reality that they would not have children, and the years slowly turned them into elderly people whose conversations often centered on complaints about trivial matters. In the kitchen, where laughter and conversation once echoed, it was now almost always quiet. One such evening, Gregory began grumbling while searching another corner. "These glasses, every time it's a new game of hide and seek. Have you seen them anywhere?" Jennifer, without looking up from her knitting, responded with a touch of irony in her voice. "Maybe they ran away from you, like I sometimes want to. Check the table where you were reading the newspaper yesterday." The search ended in failure, and Gregory continued in the same vein. "Always your complaints. Ah, and they're not here either." These petty squabbles became their daily ritual, along with the morning tea they drank while looking at the garden, where children hadn't played for a long time. Despite everything, every morning Gregory would open the door for Jennifer when she left for her dance classes for seniors. He always remained incredibly caring, despite their mutual elderly grumbling. Evenings in their home were filled with silence, occasionally broken by the sounds of music from the old record player when Jennifer decided to dance. The dances, though not as energetic as before, still brought her comfort. Over time, their home, once full of dreams and hopes, became a symbol of missed opportunities and unrealized desires. The walls, adorned with photos from their youth, reminded them of days when the future seemed full of promise. Nevertheless, despite their grumbling and isolation, an unwavering love remained between them. This bond, though tested by time, was what kept them together. Love and the habit of living together made them capable of enduring the loneliness of old age and finding solace in the quiet moments spent side by side, in the house that would now forever remain the home of grumbling shadows. One evening, while Gregory was trying to tune an old radio that lacked the parts to play music without interference, Jennifer felt especially tired. She sat in a chair, rocking to the soft sounds from the speaker, when she suddenly felt a sharp pain in her chest. At first, she thought it was just fatigue or stress after a long day, but the pain intensified, and she realized it was something more serious. She tried to get up to call Gregory, but her legs wouldn't cooperate. Gregory, hearing the noise, turned and saw Jennifer trying to grab something nearby to steady herself. He rushed to her and helped her sit back down. "Jen, what's wrong? Are you okay?" His voice was full of genuine concern. I don't know, she whispered, trying to take a deep breath. My chest, it hurts. I can't breathe properly. Gregory wasted no time. He knew every minute counted. He called for an ambulance, briefly explaining the situation and describing her symptoms. Soon, the paramedics arrived, quickly assessed Jennifer, and took her to the hospital for further examination. Left alone, Gregory felt helpless. He sat in the empty living room, staring at the chair where his wife had been, his heart gripped by fear. The time spent waiting for a call from the hospital seemed like an eternity. Finally, the phone rang, breaking the silence. The doctor informed him that Jennifer had serious heart problems and needed urgent surgery. The words heart attack made Gregory tremble, but he pulled himself together and drove to the hospital to be with Jennifer. In the hospital, sitting beside the bed where Jennifer lay connected to monitors and unconscious, Gregory held her hand. He talked to her, even though she couldn't hear him, assuring her that everything would be all right, that he was there, that he wouldn't leave. He prayed that together they could overcome this sudden ordeal that had so cruelly disrupted their peaceful life. Jennifer's condition after the surgery was critical but stable. The hospital room, with its white walls and the constant noise of medical equipment, became her temporary refuge. Gregory spent most of his time by her bedside, reading to her, talking, or simply sitting there holding her hand. He tried to hide his anxiety and fatigue so she would feel better, even though his heart was full of worry. One evening, as the dim light of the hospital lamp illuminated the room, a popular dance show was playing on the small TV mounted on the wall opposite Jennifer's bed. Gregory, noticing Jennifer's interest, approached the TV to turn up the volume. The screen came alive with colorful images of dancers whose movements were full of passion and energy. Jennifer watched the dancers, and her eyes lit up instantly. She smiled dreamily and turned her head to Gregory. You know, Greg, I always wanted to dance on a show like that. I dreamed of dancing with you. It's a pity you never learned how to dance. Gregory smiled, sitting on the edge of her bed. His eyes were full of tenderness. I've always had 2 left feet on the dance floor. But I know you would have been a star, Jen. You've always been my star. Jennifer nodded, slightly tilting her head. Her gaze drifted over the screen, following every movement of the dancers. Deep down, she felt that dancing was what she loved most in the world, what gave her a sense of freedom and joy. We could learn a few moves when I get better, she said quietly, trying to hide the weakness in her voice. Of course, Gregory replied softly, stroking her hand. We'll dance together. I'll even teach my 2 left feet, if that's what it takes. This conversation brought a light note of joy into the monotony of the hospital days. Gregory realized how important it was for Jennifer to hold on to hope and dreams despite everything. He promised himself he would find a way to make her dream come true, no matter the circumstances. Inspired by the desire to fulfill Jennifer's dream, Gregory decided to learn how to dance. He imagined how beautiful it would be to dance with her, but the first steps toward making this dream a reality proved unexpectedly challenging. Gregory started by reaching out to several dance schools in the town. At each one, he was met with bewilderment and concealed amusement. In one studio, a young instructor, barely hiding a smile, politely explained that dancing required physical fitness, flexibility, and endurance, which one couldn't expect from someone his age. Sir, are you serious? At your age, it could be dangerous. Maybe you should try something easier, suggested another trainer, struggling to suppress a laugh as Gregory explained he wanted to learn to dance to surprise his wife. At the next classes he attended, he was met with even less warmth. Are you crazy? Starting to dance at your age? This isn't for old folks. It's a place for the young and energetic, said one instructor, openly laughing at his intention. Realizing he wouldn't find support, Gregory didn't give up. He decided to go it alone. Being retired and having free time, he started studying dance at home. Gregory bought instructional videotapes and dance books from a local second-hand store and online. Setting up a small space in his garage, he turned it into an improvised dance studio. Every day, Gregory practiced diligently, replicating the moves he saw. He recorded his attempts on camera, then carefully analyzed them and tried again. The process was full of mistakes and falls, but with each error, his determination only grew stronger. As time went on, Gregory's efforts began to pay off. His movements became more confident and coordinated. This learning process became not just a way to fulfill a dream, but also proof that age is just a number, and prejudices and stereotypes should not prevent one from living a full life. In the solitude of his home, in the small space he had turned into his dance studio, a new chapter of his life began. Opening the curtains in the morning to let natural light into the room, he stood before the mirror, turned on the video lesson, and began to dance. In those moments before the old TV, Gregory ceased to be a retiree burdened by age and loneliness. He became a dancer, absorbed by the music and movement. Every day, while Jennifer was in the hospital, Gregory dedicated several hours to dancing. It was his way of coping with anxiety and concern for his wife's health. Dance became his meditation, his prayer. He repeated each movement with remarkable precision and patience, as if every step could bring Jennifer closer to recovery. Over time, the rhythm and steps became more familiar, and Gregory started adding his own elements to the choreography. The dances became spontaneous, full of emotion and expression. He imagined Jennifer watching him, holding her hand, and dancing together on the dance floor. These dreams gave him the strength to continue. In the evenings, when fatigue set in and Gregory's legs felt like lead, he would sit in the corner of the studio, looking at his reflection in the mirror. The light from the street lamp filtering through the blinds cast soft shadows on the studio floor. In these moments, Gregory reflected on the time he and Jennifer had spent together, all the hardships they had overcome, and those rare moments of pure joy they had shared. Gregory devoted all his time and energy to dancing. The daily hours spent alone in his garage-turned-dance studio began to bear fruit. Confidence in each step grew, as did his ability to express himself through dance. Although each visit to the hospital reminded him of Jennifer's illness, he found solace and strength in the thought that he could bring her joy with his achievements. After one such visit to Jennifer, Gregory stopped by a store to buy new dance video courses. While there, his eyes fell on a notice on the bulletin board. The city was looking for participants for a new dance show. This was an opportunity Gregory couldn't pass up, despite his age and the initial skepticism he had encountered before. "What's this?" Gregory asked the shopkeeper, pointing to the notice. "Casting for a dance show." "My old lady watches it all the time, hasn't missed a single season," the shopkeeper replied. Gregory decided to give it a shot. At the audition, despite feeling self-conscious about his age among the young and flexible dancers, Gregory held his own. His grace and passion for dance impressed the organizers. They quickly realized that having such an unusual participant as Gregory could be a great move to boost the show's ratings. "Your performance was truly unique," one of the judges said after his audition. "Your skill can inspire many people your age. You prove that dance no age limits." After Gregory filmed for the dance show, he eagerly awaited its broadcast on television. All this time, he hadn't mentioned his participation to Jennifer, wanting to surprise her. He knew that the news of his performance would be unexpected and delightful for her. The day of the show's broadcast arrived. Gregory came to the hospital to see Jennifer, as usual, with flowers and a smile. He turned on the TV in her room, tuned it to the right channel, and sat beside her on the bed. "Why did you turn on this show? You never liked watching dance on TV," Jennifer asked, slightly frowning in surprise. Gregory just smiled in response and silently took her hand. He was full of anticipation for the moment when her surprise would turn into joy and pride. When the show began, dancers in bright costumes appeared on the screen, and then the camera switched to Gregory, who started his performance. Jennifer froze for a moment, not believing her eyes. Her mouth opened in surprise and she turned to her husband. Is that you? Are you really dancing there?" Her voice trembled with excitement as she watched Gregory move gracefully to the rhythm of the music, showing incredible grace and emotion. She couldn't hold back her laughter. He was so happy and confident on the screen that Jennifer couldn't help but share in his joy. She laughed, and then, as the initial burst of emotion subsided, tears of joy streamed down her cheeks. "Oh, Gregory, how could you keep this a secret all this time?" She hugged him, pressing her face to his shoulder. Gregory kissed her forehead and gently stood up, extending his hand to Jennifer. Now let me dance for you here, in the room. No cameras or stages are needed to show you how much I love you." Then, to the same melody that played on the show, Gregory began to dance in front of Jennifer's bed. Gregory danced in front of Jennifer's bed, and the hospital room was quiet, except for the soft music playing in the background. He moved with such tenderness and passion that every movement seemed to reflect their long life together. Jennifer watched him, her eyes shining with love and pride. She saw not just her husband, but a true partner who had reached out to her through all their trials. When the dance ended, Gregory walked over to the bed and took her hand. They silently gazed at each other, as if their eyes could convey everything they had never said in words. And then in that moment, when the room filled with quiet tranquility, Jennifer's eyes slowly closed and she drifted away, smiling with a face full of peace and happiness. Gregory continued holding her hand, thanking her for every day they had spent together. She departed, knowing she was loved and that her dream of one last dance had come true. The following days were filled with mourning for Gregory, but also with recognition of his resilience and the love he had shown to the whole town. The story of how he learned to dance for his late wife's final dream quickly spread among the residents. Dance coaches who had once rejected Gregory now sought to reach out to him, each wishing for this inspiring old man to become their client. However, when they came to his home, knocking on his door, hoping to persuade him to join their studios, Gregory greeted them coolly. He remembered every rejection and every smirk he had endured when he stood at their door asking to be taught how to dance. "You laughed at the old man who wanted to dance, remember? Now please, leave me alone." "I haven't forgotten your disdain," he replied to each visitor. Time passed, and public interest in Gregory's story slowly faded. The phone calls stopped, invitations to dance shows no longer came, and it seemed the world around had forgotten about the old man who had once decided to learn to dance for his late wife's last dream. But Gregory did not feel abandoned or forsaken. He found solace and purpose in his passion and in memories of Jennifer, which continued to live on in every one of his movements. The garage, which he had once turned into an improvised dance studio, eventually became a fully equipped dance studio. The walls were adorned with photographs of Jennifer, their photos together, her portraits, and even pictures from her youth when she danced herself. Each photograph reminded him of the happy moments of their life, filling the studio with the energy of love and inspiration. Every evening, as the sun set beyond the horizon, Gregory played music. Soft melodies, rhythmic ballads, sometimes even something youthful. The light in the studio cast soft, long shadows, and Gregory began to dance. With closed eyes, he imagined that Jennifer was there beside him, that they were dancing together again. His movements were full of grace and love. Gregory didn't just dance, he relived every movement, every step, recreating moments from their life together. These evening dances became a ritual for him, a way to keep his connection with his beloved, even if only in his memories. Sometimes, on especially quiet evenings, it seemed like the music was playing from somewhere far away, and Gregory could hear her laughter, see her smile in the reflection of the old mirror in the corner of the studio. These moments were sacred to him. They reminded him that, although life goes on, the love he felt for Jennifer would never fade away.